For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your favorite podcast app. Lots to talk about this week as we head into 30 minutes of time-wasting fun. Delivery apps. Everybody's using them, especially during Corona times. But do you know what we've resorted to at my house? We will grocery shop on an app, have all the stuff delivered, and then the next day go and say, you know what, let's just order food. Case in point, we might have all of the ingredients for pizza, but we're still going to order pizza tonight. Has this happened to you? Do you do this? We're going to talk about food delivery apps in a little bit. Our executive producer, Bonnie Winters, will also join us to talk about life as an animal. Think about this. You all have pets. And your dog, your cat, your whatever it is, has absolutely no expectations. We always want to get them the nicest treats, the best toys, the most plush bed. But think about that. They don't have the expectation of comfort. They are fine just laying on the floor. I took my dogs to my parents' house the other day, and my mom's like, oh, I don't have any dog biscuits. I said, do you have ice cubes? She said, yes. I said, that's fine. Sure enough, my dogs are going crazy, like clamoring to get these ice cubes from her. Then she's like, well, I don't have any toys. I said, do you have an empty water bottle in your recycling bin? She said, maybe. I said, give that, and they'll be fine. The dogs will be just fine. And sure enough, we watched them. One of my just running around the backyard with this empty water bottle. Didn't cost me a thing, right? I mean, whatever it was for my mom to buy this. I mean, but she had the water, right? It was already being thrown out. And so animals don't have the expectations that we do. And so I kind of wonder, wouldn't it be great to be an animal? Think about all of the possessions that you have that you can't live without. Now get rid of all of them because you don't need any of them as an animal. So anyway, we're going to have a discussion with Bonnie Winters about that. And also dating, I think it was last week on the show, I went on this whole big dating rant. And we had some questions about relationships here. More importantly, well, I don't know if you call it super trivial things, not superficial, but certainly things like, could you date somebody that has the same name as you? Or the same name as your parent? Is it just weird? Because you know what I'm getting at, right? If you're calling out a name, that sort of thing. So, my email address is live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And we're going to talk about those coming up in just a bit. You know what happened? I'm really pissed off right now. My computer updated, I guess, while I was gone. And I always know something is up because when I go to log in, it takes quite a while, right? It does the little spinny thing, and I'm just like, oh shit, now what is it? It's updated something. What is it doing? Today, I come in, and the taskbar at the bottom. Now, I'm one of the few people who use Windows here. Everybody has Macs and whatever, and I've just never really liked them. It goes back to my days as a reporter at the military newspaper where our designer insisted on having a Mac, so then I had to have one as well. And that's why I resented it, was because somebody was telling me I had to have it. I didn't have a choice. And it was to make their job easier as well, which kind of, pissed me off even more. And then I had to do work on a regular PC anyway, so I was going back and forth to these two computers, and it just became a hassle to me because everybody else at the military base was using Windows desktop computers, and those were locked down, that was the secure one. And so I'd had to keep going back and forth. There was no way for us to, securely have my two computers linked up. So that's where I really had no interest in a Mac. And then also too, when I was working in magazine publishing and things like that, our clients were always using just a regular PC. And at the time, again, it was just so difficult to, I had a Mac and then it's like, well, I've got to convert this, but our designers are using a Mac as well. So at the end of the day, it's like, whose life do I make easier? Our client? Yes. Or our staff? No. Right? You kiss the client's ass. So yeah. Anyway, So my taskbar at the bottom of the computer was suddenly light, like gray, white, and it's one of those things when you look at it, and I'm kind of like, there's something. I know it's different. I absolutely know it's different. But what color was it before? Like what? Like I know that it wasn't this bright and in your face. So then I'm trying to think, well, how do I change the settings? And do I know? And I'm not kidding you. It took me a good 15 minutes, and I don't even know. I was ranting and raving to people. I'm like, I don't know what it looked like before. It just wasn't this. So when you can't describe it, right, it's even more frustrating because then they're like, well, change it to this. And then I'm like, no, that's not how I want it. And again, I like things just so. That's why I hate getting a new cell phone. I hate, even when a Windows update comes, I'm just like, I just want things to be the same. I want them to be in the same place. I want them to look the same. There we go. Can you relate to this, or is it just my neurotic personality lets this... it just doesn't fly with me? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. More useless chatter coming up right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. I'm going to talk about relationships again, everybody, and I realize that I almost should start an advice column or like a dating advice show. Wouldn't that be fun? That was the thing. When I was growing up, let me tell you, I was always the single one. First and foremost, I was always single. I wasn't in relationships, and it wasn't because I was closeted. It was just harder. It seemed like there weren't as many gay people around back then. Now, I guess, again, I realized that most people were still sort of figuring out themselves when they were teenagers, right? It certainly wasn't an open society where, you were comfortable being who you are and out in the public and openly. So for me, it wasn't a matter of I think people in my life kind of knew, not that I was, a flouncing, flaming, homo, but certainly, there were some feminine tendencies or whatever you want to call them as I was growing up, and then later became, teenager and things like that. So I was always the single one. My friends were the ones who were doing the dating thing. They were in relationships all the time, right? The guys and girls were exploring and experimenting. Now, again, keep in mind, I'm 38 years old, and there wasn't... in high school, people mostly were still virgins. I remember in grade 9, or 9th grade, as our Americans would say, but I remember in grade 9, one of the girls had sex, and that was like a big... that was unheard of. It was shocking to our circle of friends. And so I just remember that being, shell-shocking, if that's even a word. And then in high school is when you started to maybe kind of do a little bit more sexual stuff, but I don't know that people necessarily were having sex. Probably around grade 12, around we were graduating, which would be 2000, people were probably starting to do it. But again, I was always the person who, when your relationship broke down and when you had a fight or when you were suddenly single, you called me, and I was that person. I had my own phone line at home, and my phone would ring at midnight or 2, 3 in the morning, whatever it would be, and it was friends. We didn't have texting back then, so it wasn't as simple as just shooting me a text asking if they can talk. And I was approachable, and I was fine with that. I liked sort of the attention as well, that people thought, hey, he's the voice of reason. He's got a level head. And so people always came to me with relationship advice. So why I didn't become a therapist or something, maybe I should have. I probably should have been billing those people. The one thing that pissed me off, though, was that when I needed them, suddenly they weren't available and they weren't around. But nevertheless, they're not talking about that right now. Okay, so anyway, back to the dating thing after that 2.5-minute rant, everybody. We talked about dating apps, or I talked about dating apps and social media and all that other stuff the other day. I want to have some fun now with this, okay? This topic came up the other day because somebody I know is single and mingle. What's the saying? Single and ready to mingle. Thank you. Now, see, I just feel old. Again, full disclosure, I've been happily in a relationship for many years, so I've never used a dating app. I've seen them because I've looked over, shoulders and things, but no. And actually, one of my cousins actually came up to me, sort of almost confronted me at a family get-together, and she's like, "Oh my God, my friend saw you on such and such a dating website," and I was like, "Yeah, no." Again, if you've seen the hunk of beef that I am married, no. Dating app or dating website, dating app, no, definitely not. Anyway, so. Let's have some fun with this. Would you date someone that has the same name as you? Now, I'm not asking about just same-sex couples, right? Because you could have a Danny and a Danny, or a Aaron and an Aaron, right? I mean, so there's different spellings of names, and there's a male version, female version, whatever it is. But so for me, could I see myself in a relationship with a Jeremy? I don't know. Could you? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Because again, this goes into that whole question of if you're going to be calling out names or whatever it is, you could say it's good and bad, right? It's good because you'll never call the wrong name. I mean, but it's also weird that you're essentially calling out your own name, right? That's the deal. So, could you date or I guess even hook up with somebody who has the same name as you? Is that weird or is that cute? I think that, again, in today's social media and whatever world, I think that's probably cutesy then, if you would, end up in a relationship with somebody who's got the same name as you, right? That's just, what a story, right? Oh my God, my partner we have the same name as each other. So there's that. And then secondly, the next one about names is, what if the person that you're interested in all of a sudden suddenly either has your parents' name or your sibling's name? Is that weird? Is it? I was, now again, we're going back, I don't even know. I was still living at my parents' house, so at least, oh my God, maybe 20 years now? I was going back and forth with a guy whose name was Barry, and Barry is my dad's name. And he was somebody, from the bar. Yeah, okay, so I would have been 20 or 21 when we were talking. It's okay, so more than 20 years now. Anyway, or no, sorry, not quite 20 years. I just got frazzled thinking about him because I really liked him. But again, in the back of my mind, there was always this weird thing about him having my dad's name. Worse yet, I'm not kidding you, he actually had the same middle name as my dad too. Okay, so that's just even weirder. But I don't know, it always just struck me odd, to be interested in somebody that's got my dad's name. He never met my family, so it never went that far. But it was just, we were talking, we were doing the phone calls, and I don't know, it kind of felt weird. Would you disregard somebody because of their name? Again, sounds like a shallow, superficial question, but it wouldn't surprise me if there are people who email me and say yes. live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Now let's take this one step further. What about if you just don't like a name? What if you think the name fill in the blank is stupid? What if they just have a really, I don't know, old school name, that you just think is so out of date? Like, oh my God, are you from, 1940 something? If you just don't like their name. And maybe you could find a pet name for them or a nickname or just call them, by their initial. Okay, you could do that. But what if you just don't like the name? What if I just think that's such a stupid name? I just don't like that name. Right? I mean, again, it could be anything. Maybe it's just because it's such a common name, right? Maybe it's the name John, right? I mean, John is just such a common name. Hey, I have two uncles named John, so I'm not knocking the name. But so if you just don't like the name, again, here's another name thing. What if they have the same name as your ex? Is that awkward? Or, I mean, if you already got your ex's name tattooed on your body, maybe it's perfect then, right? You're able to find a replacement for that person. Okay, maybe strike that question. Maybe that's not a good one to decide. But, but again, it could leave, I'm going to get letters on this one, it could leave a bad taste in your mouth, though, right? If you had just a terrible experience with somebody with that name, then maybe it just would give me chills. Nope, can't do the same name again. Sorry, nope. Again, send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. JB, the dating advice queen. There you go.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Let's shift gears. Let's talk food. Let's talk food delivery apps. Something that we have discussed on this show in the past, right? We've done that, well, it was a while ago. But there's some weeks where I just don't feel like cooking anything ever. Now, again, I live with a fitness model. So in terms of junk food, and, you know, it's very rare to find junk food in the house. Okay? So, but there was one week where we ordered, I'm not kidding you, we ordered Dairy Queen and had burgers. I think that was that a Sunday? And then on the Tuesday, I had to be at the mall, and I went to, I got a chicken burrito. So again, I had, let's call it fast food again. And then we ordered pizza a couple of nights later. And then we had, what did we, oh my God, we ordered something. So basically we ate out 4 times really in that week. Now, I can understand when people go and say, I don't want to do that because it's expensive. Absolutely, it was expensive. But, I mean, for me, it wasn't the price. For me, it was the way my body felt at the end of the week. So, yes, you feel great when you're eating the food. And, yeah, we were ordering basically from fast food restaurants. And just, if it's not something that your body is used to, holy crap, did I ever just feel like a blob? I felt so heavy and weighted down and bloated and... yeah, just gross. And then maybe again it's because we don't have junk food or you know, unhealthy food a lot, that something in my brain, in my head was like, yeah, none of the grease or anything for the next little while. Like there was just something in my body that said, you don't want this. It's not me tricking my body. It's the body saying, okay, we're not doing this again for a while. And then the other night, this happened where we were talking about... see, when our schedules sort of collide and then we happen to be arriving home at the same time, then there's if you're the first one home, then you're kind of on the hook for figuring out what the meal is going to be for the night. And then if it's going to be a tie, basically if we're arriving home within a certain window of time, then we either decide together, do it together, or just order. You know, what, I'll order it on the way home, and if it gets there before I get there, then, you know, keep it warm for me or whatever it is. So anyway, there was one night that we had that discussion, or one day when we had that discussion. And for some reason, we were both craving tacos. And I said to him, we have a whole bunch of frozen hamburger in the freezer. Like, it's in the freezer. It's packaged up already. So that basically what you need to do is you can either nuke it in the microwave, or you can just do it like in a skillet right on the stove. And you just have to heat it. So you're not even like cooking it from raw. Like it's done. And we have these great flavored taco shells. There's a cheese one and then there's a ranch one. And then we had lettuce because we had salad the day before. So basically what I'm getting at is we had every ingredient to make the tacos. But for some reason, we ordered tacos. And the same thing happened too, where we had a whole bunch of like pizza supplies. You know, we had the sauce, we had the cheese, we had the bacon, we had, you know, whatever, chicken, whatever it was that we had but we still decided to order. And it wasn't a matter of being lazy though. It wasn't like, oh, this is going to take us 20 minutes in the kitchen. It was just more so that we didn't want the taste of homemade food. It almost was just kind of like, when you order from a restaurant, it just tastes better for some reason. You know, we make pizza all the time with like those flatbread or those tortilla. No, I don't know what they're called. Pita shells. That's what it is. And so we make pizza and we put what we want on it, right? We'll have sometimes like the instead of pizza sauce, we'll do like a low-fat ranch dressing, or, you know, like we just make. And so yes, obviously it is healthier. Well, not obviously. I mean, it can be healthier when you make your own, right? And then you can put what you want on it, and you can make it the flavor. You can put as much garlic as you want on it, or more bacon, or whatever it might be. Again, I know bacon, healthy, haha. So yeah, there was one night where we absolutely had everything to make tacos. There was no excuse to not make tacos, but we still just ordered. Because there was some, I don't remember if it was Taco Bell or I don't recall, but it was just, there was something about getting food from a restaurant that made us feel more complete, that we would enjoy the meal more if we had it delivered. So could we have made the food for much cheaper because we had already had the supplies? But I quite honestly, I find that making them, is costly as well when you think about the ingredients. The very first time that I ever made burgers, I was living by myself at the time. I'd never even eaten a hamburger before, let me tell you. So when I had moved into my house, one of the first summers, I said, you know what, I want to make a burger. I've never eaten a burger. I've never made a burger. I want to make a burger. I want to have a burger this summer day. And so I ended up going to the store. Now there's a Burger King in the parking lot of the grocery store. But I went and I thought afterwards, I could have really just ordered an entire burger meal for what, $4, $3? So by the time I bought the buns, the lettuce, the cheese, the bacon, the barbecue sauce, the pickles, and potatoes to make fries, and then, so the burger meat, whatever. Basically, you're looking at $15, $20. And again, I was like, oh my God. Now, again, I realize, though, that you're going to end up being able to make how many burgers for that price. But again, still. So I understand people's interest in fast food. Cheaper, quicker, and I don't have to do anything, and there's no cleanup. I can just take the paper bag and then go home, right? I mean, that's or just eat it at the restaurant and leave. But yeah, I find it really funny that we had basically everything. A few times, whether it's pizza or tacos, we've had the ability to essentially make what we ordered, but we didn't. We didn't make it. We ordered it. So tell me if you've ever done that. Live at jbonair.com. Live at jbonair.com. And maybe people did that during Corona as well, right? But at the same time, I think that's even worse then. I mean, your days were so empty with nothingness in terms of, you didn't have to commute. You didn't have to, you were at home. And, there was no reason that you didn't have time to cook or anything like that. So again, live at jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the show. Joining me once again, executive producer Bonnie Winters. Hello, Bon Bon.
Well, hello there, JB.
We like to keep our lives simple, as we get older, and that's just one of those things that I don't want to have to worry about this and that and whatever, right? Just the easier I can get through the day, the better. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, totally agree. Yes.
Have you ever thought that I kind of want to just be an animal? And let me explain what I mean by that. No, I think about there's a rabbit that lives under my front stairs. Think about that rabbit's life. What are their possessions? Maybe, acorns, right? Think about how minimal their life is.
No, acorns, that's squirrels.
Is that squirrel? Okay, but whatever. You know what I'm saying. But my point is that they don't have a living room full of stuff. They're just like, hey, you know what? I dug a hole under your stairs. And it's such a simple life. I was thinking about my dog. They don't understand time. They don't, we set the clocks back. Oh, it's breakfast. They know that it's time to eat. But they don't understand shopping. They don't understand social media. They don't understand Corona. Have you ever thought, that's kind of cool to have a dog's life?
Could be.
You got nothing to say. Wow, everybody. Let me just give everybody some background here. Bonnie and I are taping a series of segments, so you're listening to this one dropped into the show. We have just actually been speaking for a good 45 minutes taping other segments, and she has not shut up. But for this one, for some reason, she's got nothing to say. But isn't it trippy to think, though, like that a dog doesn't understand gossip, doesn't understand lying, doesn't understand alcohol, right? Because a dog drinks water their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't understand going to a grocery store and looking at the aisle of juice or 7-Up, Pepsi, whatever. They're in a completely different world than we are, but yet they're in our world.
Exactly. Yes.
You have absolutely nothing to say on this topic, Bonnie, really.
Well,
This is going to be our shortest segment ever.
You are really focusing on the dogs. I mean, if you're talking animals, like what would you like to be? Like, can we encompass birds into this thing, or are we talking, warm, fuzzy animals?
It doesn't matter. Okay, so so a good example then would be a squirrel. I just saw out my kitchen window the other day the squirrel running back and forth along my fence, jumping to a tree, collecting things is what I'm getting at. But again, at the end of the day, like, they have a collection, or I think they bury things in like mud and sand, like in your flower pots and things like that, my mom says. And like, what is precious to them? What means something to them? And to me, it just takes this step back, and it makes you think about reality, about how superficial and how materialistic human beings are. Everybody thinks that when you have a dog, well, I'm going to get him, the best food, the best toys, the most plush bed. But what is a dog's expectation? It's none of those things. A dog doesn't know.
They want to be hugged and cuddled and yeah.
Right.
Sit with their master up on the couch and
right. Yeah. So aside from being a bitch, what animal would you want to be, Bon?
I would actually I'd like to be an eagle.
Bald?
Can I?
Well, fly away, Bon.
I don't have to stick to furry animals.
Flying on out of here already. All right. Why would you want to be an eagle?
Well, because they're big and they're strong and they can fly high, and I really like that.
Come on, you're big and you fly high every now and then, Bon.
I have this thing for eagles. I think they're amazing. I really do.
Well, your husband is bald.
Oh, true.
There you go. Is he flying? Is he big? Is he soaring, Bon? Huh?
You're nasty. You really are.
But isn't it interesting, though? Because you've had dogs, but like, to me, think about it. When I go to the grocery store, he just knows that I'm leaving. Right?
Oh, sure.
He doesn't know that I was going up and down aisles. Like, he doesn't know half of the products. He doesn't really know. He doesn't even know where I went. Right? I mean, he'll smell, the food or whatever it is. But you just come home with all of these things. He has no concept of money. He doesn't know that I'm leaving because I have to go and work and pay for stuff. It's so weird. Like, it's just kind of a crazy, and they're part of our lives, though.
True.
And
yes.
it's just so strange. So I guess this topic fell flat. We're going to wrap up this segment unless you have something else to add, Bon. Thanks for pissing on this one.
Yeah, if I could fly away right about now.
But think about, okay, so let's talk about just social media or just Corona. I mean, these are two huge issues in human life. My dog has absolutely no idea what Facebook is. Could you, just think about even just being a human, and let's say you were on a deserted island for 10, 15 years, and I guess people who are in jail sort of feel this way, right? When you're back in the public and you're just like, I don't know what a cell phone is. Like, I don't know, what is all this stuff? It must be trippy. And could you imagine trying to explain to a dog? I mean, it's, here, I'm going to take this picture, and it's going to go on a computer, and thousands of people are going to see it.
Right.
All right, we're going to wrap this up on. This was our worst segment ever. No, here's what we're going to do. We're going to shift gears. Here's what we're going to do. I know Bonnie's going to have an opinion on this one.
I'm just thinking of what an eagle would do with something like that. Like, their talons are so strong, like they would just mutilate anything and everything that they didn't like. And sometimes you almost feel like you want that kind of power. You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely do not. But go on. This is fascinating to me, Bon. Go on. So you're wanting to do damage to people.
Well, no, not not to people in general.
Oh, just
but
you want to rip apart animals. Small furry animals
I
like the
think-
squirrel in my backyard. You want to take away and rip to shreds.
Eagles, you just feel like, wow, they could control just about any situation. I mean, they're powerful, right? I don't know. I just think it would be cool to be an eagle.
Grandmother Bonnie Winters joining us about her destruction as an eagle, everybody.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley on The Scribble. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,